Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, welcome back. Films and Stuff, a new week, a new episode. Where should we start today?
Hi, Ethan. So, why don't we start with our quick, patented 60 seconds or less summary of Halo, the 4th episode.
Halo episode 4. I'm ready. Tell me.
Okay, so the show has 3 subplots running simultaneously or in parallel. The first involves Master Chief and Halsey, where they head to Master Chief's home planet. They do some Cortana-related shenanigans and augmented reality shenanigans to find the potential location for the second artifact, which at the end of the episode they do find. The second parallel plot line is that we are back now at the UNSC command on Reach, and we find that Kai, one of the other squad mates of the Spartans, has cut out her own regulator after she saw Master Chief do so in the last episode.
Yeah. A big rebellion by her, yeah? This is something I did not see coming at all.
Complete subversion of expectations, so props on that front. The squad is able to help Miranda Keyes decipher the Covenant language and simultaneously figure out what the Covenant are after, at least put a name to it.
Yep.
Halo. And then the third subplot, which is, while all this is happening, Quan and Soren have gone to Madrigal. She has convinced him to help him by, offering payment. They go to Madrigal with the idea of helping the rebels there kind of rise up against the leader who's been put in place.
Yeah.
Vinsher, correct. She gets there, finds out that a bounty has been put on her, and then also finds out that the rebellion has kind of already been quashed because they've agreed to bend the knee. And her story for this episode ends with them escaping, trying to get off the planet.
Yep. They escaped the sexy assassin. Okay.
That's right.
So let's dive into it. But before we do you have a different rating than you did after we watched episodes 2 and 3 last week?
I don't have a different rating, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this, and I think even you will find it shocking. I'm giving this show one more episode before I'm calling it early and then calling it quits.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think unless episode 5 really blows my socks off, I think I am done with this show for the rest of the season. I may come back to it after all the 10 episodes are out and binge it. But honestly, it's gone so far off the reservation that I'm not interested in seeing more of it.
So what's your rating then? Your rating is still a skip it, right?
At the moment, it's a skip it.
Yeah. I have the same rating. I also give it a skip it. And I've really been, the last episode I watched, this episode 4, I've really tried to tap into my own perspective as to why I'm not more enthused about this show. I'm not able to put my finger on it because it kind of has all the elements that I would think would be really compelling to me. But even when I was watching I really kind of tried to watch it very critically. And when I was watching kind of the opening, the intro, where they show kind of the body armor coming together and they have the opening credits for the main characters, I thought the graphics, when they put the armor together, right, the Sentinel's armor, I thought that was amazing. But I thought the music was extremely muted. I didn't find that the excitement level of the music matched, what was happening on the screen. And it really kind of struck me because I think that's maybe the problem with this show is that it's really hard to put your finger on what's missing? Because when you talk about it, it just sounds like we're a little bit complaining and whining or being too nitpicky. But the reality is that there's just some level of enthusiasm missing from the show. And I feel like that's just why it's none of these storylines are really compelling to me. No single character, except maybe kind of Dr. Halsey, has like grabbed my attention. And I just feel very apathetic about this entire thing, top to bottom.
I agree. I think the problem this show has is that, first of all, as we highlighted last week, the showrunners have kind of gone out of their way to say, hey, we don't want to look at anything about the game. We're not interested in the game. We're only interested in the characters, and that's it. Some of the lore, but that's kind of it. So, first of all, I am not happy that they've kind of completely disregarded source material. Second of all,
you are not happy about that. I agree.
No.
You are not happy about that. You've said that more than once. Of all my complaints, that is not one for me, but I know that that's really sincerely a problem for you.
And I say that only because the lore is quite exceptional, right?
Yeah.
It's, say what you will about Bungie and now 343 Industries, they put together a package and a game which had some really excellent lore, which for its time was still quite, maybe not revolutionary, but it was very engaging. But I think looking at the show now, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible, I can't help but feel like sometimes this show is trying to be a little bit more like The Expanse, or maybe a little bit like other sci-fi shows of the modern era, which is to say, we're not all about action, which is obvious in this show. We've only seen one real main action sequence. Which is to say, we're a little bit more about, like, the political intrigue, which is fine. But, again, the show isn't really, or the game isn't really known for it. And B, they're not really doing anything good about it. The political intrigue is not that great. And as you rightly pointed out, I think Halsey's the only one that's really kind of pulling off any espionage-esque vibes at the moment.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I have to say, let's flip things around. If you had to defend this show, let's just say we were a debate team and, you picked out of a hat and you got the slip of paper that said defend the show. What can you find that's compelling about the show or that's redeemable about the show?
Okay, so I think you got me with.
I know you can take the opposite view, but I mean, maybe I'll help you out by saying I actually think the cast is good.
I think, yeah. So let's take, with the exception potentially, and again I say potentially only because we have seen absolutely nothing substantive of her storyline, with the exception of Quan and the whole Madrigal subplot. Okay, you have the cast is relatively good. Pablo Schreiber is doing a very good job with Master Chief, I think.
Yes.
Maybe not the best job, but at the same time, not bad given what he's got to work with.
Yes.
I would say
Halsey,
I think so far is the standout.
Yes.
So far is the standout. Cortana, because she's also the same voice actor that's from the game, has the potential to come out there. Depends. It really depends on where we see her go with this.
Kai?
The Kai subplot, a little weird, but again, I will give credit where credit is due. I like that subversion. I think when we were talking about it last week, I thought they were setting up the show to say that she saw him and it's going to set up a Spartans versus Master Chief arc.
Yep.
And now that may be less of an issue. Maybe it's going to be, it could still be Spartans versus Master Chief and Kai subplot. Who knows? But at least it's not going to be a one versus the world situation anymore.
Yeah. How about Vinsher? Vinsher Byrne Gorman, a great evil character, right?
So it's funny because we were just talking about him before the show.
Yeah.
You mentioned that he could have potentially been one of the baddies on the
I said Travelers, but I think I was wrong on that. Yeah.
And you may be wrong, you may not be wrong, but he plays such a, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, he plays such a good, generic bad guy.
Such a villain. Yeah, such a great villain. You can kind
of see him in any sci-fi-esque show as a bad guy.
Yeah, he was in, I think you and I agreed that he was in The Expanse.
That's right.
And he's as you like to say, he's menacing. He is an exceptional bad guy. And I think if I'm trying, I mean, to be honest, I asked you to defend the show, but again, I think I think even this actress named Charlie Murphy, who is credited as being McKee, with her white hair, I think I have to say, I think that it's exceptional casting. I don't have a problem with any of the cast. I have a problem with some of the maybe like the wardrobe or the dialogue. I don't think there's anything that even approaches remotely a joke or levity or humor. But I have to say, I think the cast itself, they're all like super in terms of talent, in terms of the right look and embodiment of their characters. I don't think I have any problems with the casting whatsoever.
I think the only other positive beyond the casting so far is maybe like costume design.
Yeah.
I feel like the costumes that they've got is quite nice. The sets are so far relatively okay, but sterile and generic.
Yeah, I think that's where we came off last time, which is, again, everything at the UNSC headquarters, I feel is just too big and gray concrete, sterile.
Yeah, it's almost
boring.
like a hospital environment. You know, it's just too clean, too. I get it. That's what you're looking for, but it's like, you know, in England they have that style of architecture called brutalism, right? And it just seems very much the same, which is to say very clean, very cement or asphalt based, very colorless and monotone.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, look, not good nor bad, but it's certainly not helpful anyway.
No.
And in terms of anything else, I actually don't think the visual effects have been anything special. We finally get to see the Pelican dropship actually exit faster than light travel when Master Chief and Halsey approaches their home planet. And I didn't think it was anything special. I still think that out of all the sci-fi shows I've ever seen, of course, the Star Trek and Star Wars effects are the most iconic because we probably saw them as we were for the first time when we were children.
Different category, yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of supersede whether it doesn't matter if they're realistic or not. They've kind of gone into that phase of being, you know, in a different level. I think in terms of modern day shows or relatively modern day shows, I would say that Foundation has
Foundation and Expanse.
Foundation has shown. And, well, yeah, exactly. Expanse, I think, a little bit more on the realistic side, but in terms of the more sci-fi heavy side, I really think the way they showed faster than light travel for the Expanse in that very first episode, almost the second scene, was quite possibly the best way of depicting it. So I think visual effects has got nothing special going on with it, especially because, you know, outside of that first battle in the first episode, we haven't seen anything else that this show has done.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, I think I would lose this debate very badly, Ethan. I can't think of anything that would make this show worthy of saving.
But, you know, I think, well, I mean, apart from the cast, but I think, again, that I think we're noticing something that's just one of these really subtle things. And it's almost like when you decorate a house or a room, that all the elements are right. But you look at it, you're like, it's just not kind of pulling together in the right way, you know? And that's how I feel about this show. I still can't put my finger on any of the problems. I would say there's absolutely an absence of action. There's really not enough action, especially for you know, the fact that
a show based on a first-person shooter, right?
Yes. But I mean, apart from that, I'm not really sure like what exactly the problems are. I just feel like everything is it's just like a slog. Like dialogue is there for the point of like writing things down, that there's not like this direction, like, hey, what are we trying to do? It's like, okay, well, let's have a murder scene, or let's have this scene where they travel here to there. But I don't feel like we know anything about any character really. I mean, and as you said in the summary, Kai 125, right? Kate Kennedy, who suddenly has come alive in that role. Why? Like, this doesn't make sense. It's just like we just kind of like are jumping from like thing to thing without like really any explanation of why these things are happening, or any like common thread between why they're happening. And I'm just not feeling anything for the show. You talked about like the political intrigue. Okay, we went a whole episode without showing anyone from the Covenant, right? McKee totally cut out of this episode. We didn't see the Admiral. We didn't see any of this, kind of like, political squabbling at all. We focused on Madrigal, okay, and we focused on this episode where it's Dr. Miranda and Kai just kind of sitting in a laboratory trying to do linguistics, okay, and then we saw, Master Chief at his childhood home, so sentimental, except like it wasn't that interesting, right? I mean, I felt like that was a very long, drawn out scene, for him to just kind of like reassess, accesses his childhood memories and find out where the Covenant was located.
I think it's so funny because I think the show writers on one hand said we don't really want to look at the games, but on the other hand, they're kind of also, there are some scenes which I think are there specifically for the gamers. Yeah. So one scene that stuck out to me for an obvious reason was when Chief gets out of the Warthog that he's driving, and he takes his helmet off and puts it to his side, and you're looking at the Chief from his rear, right? So you're watching him from behind, and the camera kind of centers on his helmet, and the helmet is on his hip, right? Like he's carrying it on against his hip, and it lingers for just a second too long. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, well, why would you do that? And like, first of all, he puts on his helmet and you're like, oh, okay, maybe something's going to happen here. He drives the Warthog. He gets out of the Warthog. He immediately takes off his helmet. Then you have this lingering shot on the helmet.
I agree.
It's like a bunch of these teases which are kind of there for the sake of the gamers.
Yes. I don't know. I agree. If you think of, let's go to The Expanse, right? Because I think this is a model. Every episode of The Expanse has a new problem. Some of them are far-fetched, to be fair, but there's always a new problem, and there's adrenaline trying to resolve the problem, right? And that's what keeps you engaged. Like, oh, shit, now they're out of this, or oh, no, now they've got to do this, or oh, great, now this is going to fall out of orbit. There's always a big problem for them, right? And they always have to compromise their existing plan where they reprioritize and say, look, we have to deal with this now. We'll cross the other bridge when we get to it. Whereas here, like you just mentioned, that scene on his home planet, it's just like almost like a montage. All right, land the plane, get in the vehicle, drive the vehicle, get out of the vehicle, observe the scenery. Okay, get back in the vehicle. Like this is not storytelling. This is like you've got an additional 40 minutes, and the writer's like, okay, well, what should happen? Well, let's just stretch this out 30 seconds because we don't really have a storyline here. Like, if you've got a lot of ideas, if you've got a lot of stories, that's a short clip where you just show the guy driving in 2 seconds. Yeah? I mean,
if at all.
That's the art of storytelling. You don't need to show that he drove for 25 seconds.
Start the scene with him leaving the Warthog. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you've already paid for the Warthog. You don't need to use it for 30 seconds. You've gotten your money's worth after 2 seconds, right? There's no additional value you get.
It's so weird it's funny because the video game franchise is classified as a first-person shooter, right? Yeah. So it's an action adventure game full of adrenaline, full of suspense. Yes. You're each cutscene is a reprieve between a battle, an ongoing battle, right? Fine. What's interesting is that the way they're showing this show at the moment, it's more like, so in the last 5-10 years, a new genre of video game has become very popular called, jokingly called walking simulators, which are video games, but no action, no nothing. They're like visual novels. The idea is that you control the main character in a story, in a novel, and you kind of guide the character through the chapters, but you can't go off the rails. Everything is on rails, and the story is a very guided element.
What would this be? Like Red Dead?
No. So there's a couple different games. One of them is the best one I can think of off the top of my head is this game called Firewatch. And it's there. If you do a deeper dive into this as gamers, like most gamers will instantly understand what I'm saying when I call walking simulator. It's not really. There is a plot, but there's no action per se. Everything that you do in the game has already been preordained by the creators of the game.
Huh.
Right? So it's an interesting way of telling stories. It's like an interactive story, and it's quite nice, It's just like if you've got 2 hours to kill, you want to go through a game, and you don't want to really be like too sussed about it, but you're interested in the narrative side of it more. It's an interactive story. It's a nice way to do it. And that's kind of the thing I'm getting with, at least this Master Chief subplot, right? Land your ship on the planet. Drive from point A to waypoint B, which is his house. Walk around the house with your helmet on, leave. Drive with your, have a conversation with Halsey. Walk away, get into your car, go to the beach. Have another conversation with Halsey. Go down into the hall. End of the chapter. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing compelling, nothing exciting, nothing there,
You feel cheated? Do you feel cheated? Is that the right word to say? Do you feel cheated by this show?
Disappointed. Maybe not cheated per se, because if when we saw the first episode, I gave that warning from the very get-go is most video game-based shows and movies are bad. But this is bad in another way. It's not bad because it's cheesy or it's got bad effects or anything like that, I'd think, like, for example, the first Mortal Kombat movie, which came out in, like, 95, was, or, this first Street Fighter movie, which came out also in, like, the mid-90s, that was really cheesy. That was really bad. It wasn't because they weren't trying to adhere to the storyline. If anything, they were trying to adhere to the video game a little too strictly.
Like the pace is wrong here. I think I've come to the conclusion that the pace is wrong, and that I just don't really feel like I've like any character has really introduced themselves. For the first time, we kind of see a little bit of Kai, right? That's the first time. No one else have we seen. Halsey we see a little bit. Quan a little bit. Master Chief is honestly, he's like Tony Soprano with his psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi. Like, I just feel like, nothing from Admirable, whatever her name is, Shabana Azmi, right? Dr. Miranda Keyes, the same thing, like just kind of like this little sweet girl. Like, I'm just not getting like the personality shining through in these characters, even though, as I've said, I'm really happy with the casting. I kind of like everybody. I think they're cast really well. I think they're very accomplished, but I just feel like this is too slow. There's no problems being resolved. It's a treasure hunt. I mean, even that whole scene with Dr. Miranda and Kai, right? What exactly was this all about? Well, I'm testing the covenant I want to see, or I'm testing the artifact. I'm trying to see if like it does anything. Everyone kind of touches it. And then she's like, hey, now I'm going to do some, decoding of linguistics and,
it's like a really slow and boring almost episode of Indiana Jones, which is, we know there's an artifact out there. Yeah. We know that, the bad guys are also trying to get it. Yeah. How do we get to the end game before? Yeah. But we don't see the boulder. We don't see him being chased by, natives. We don't see him. Yeah. We don't see anything.
I mean, you're right. That is such a good point, Pete. I interrupted you because that's such a good point. This is a show that when you landed on that planet, it was supposedly uninhabited, right? They made some, there should have been an attack. Their ship should have been like destroyed. You know, they should have sought refuge in the house. Like, man, there was nothing happened here, you know? It was just like, well, let's just walk around the backyard. Well, now let's dig. Okay, now there's a scene showing them digging. Well, where would this have been? I don't know. Let's look at what the house used to look like. I mean, there was no action. How could they not be attacked? There was no sinkhole. There was no nothing. You know, if this was any other series, they would have landed in a swamp, right? They would have hit like some bird. They would have lost an engine, had to do an emergency landing in a swamp. Then the swamp would have sucked up their ship. Okay, well, let's get all the stuff out of the ship before it sinks. Then they would have went to the house. The house would have had like some refugees in it. They would have gotten into a firefight. Like, man, I just created a way better episode. Better episode, right?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Here's what blows me away, right? So I did a little bit of digging after last week's episode. It is rumored that Microsoft and Paramount spent $200 million on 10 episodes. And the numbers are, so you would think $20 million an episode, that's crazy. I actually heard that it could be as much as $25 million an episode, right? And I don't see where they've spent that money. With all due respect to the actors, with all due respect to the VFX artists and to the, costume design team, where have they spent their money? That first scene was not worth $200 million.
Dude, I just created a way better episode. Just in those 30 seconds when I was just blustering, that's a way more compelling scene. And that's just taking everything that's happened in the history of sci-fi and kind of condensing it into a series of mishaps. That's the whole point of the show. Have some adventure. Yes.
And I'll bet between all the different Halo games that are out there, you don't even need to steal from other pop culture. No. You could have probably stolen, you could have probably taken liberally from your own games. Yeah. But because the guys said, listen, we're not interested in the video games, well, I'm sorry. Why are you then making the show if you're not interested in video games?
But you know what? To make, I think, a good episode, or to make a good show, to be honest, you need people whose lives are a little bit in chaos. You need some dumpster fires, right? Yeah. I hear them. They're like, hey, this is going to be this is the way that I would run it, like, as a lawyer. Let's have a very clean landing. Yeah. Now let's go undetected into this location. Let's identify where something is buried. It's still fully intact. Now let's go to point B. Now let's go to point C. That's if you're trying to close a transaction, if you're trying to run a family or something, it's wonderful that there was no drama. It went according to plan. That's not what we want here. I want a dumpster fire or a tire fire or whatever the fire is. Let's have some problems. Let's create some solutions. Let's have some drama. Let's make something really interesting. I'm not really interested in seeing a mission that goes off without a hitch and they can say, well, that was really smooth mission. No, we don't want a smooth mission. We want problems, right?
What's ironic is of the three subplots, the one that I think should be eliminated actually does what you're saying.
Which is Madrigal.
The Quan/Soren on Madrigal plotline. First of all, I think it's terrible. I don't think there's no reason for her to be a part of this story, the show as Quan. I'm sure she's a wonderful actor. I'm sure he's,
she's super pretty though as well. I don't know why they had to give her such a terrible haircut. I mean, that's, to be honest, that might be a felony. To give someone so pretty such a terrible haircut, to be honest, may be a felony.
Fine. All those reasons, fine. Yes. I'm sure. Let's put her into a UNSC uniform. Put her into a Covenant uniform. Do something else with her.
I agree.
This plot line is a total waste of everyone's time. Yeah. Out of the 1 hour this show is, 20 minutes of this show is wasted on that plot line. If you eliminated it and still kept it the same, at least the show would only be like 40, 45 minutes long. That would be much more helpful. That's the only plot line which actually adheres to exactly what you're saying, right? They get onto the planet. They think this is going to happen. It doesn't happen. It goes the other way. In fact, they're almost assassinated.
Yeah.
It's all nonsense.
I agree.
It's a total nonsensical thing because, frankly speaking, if you want to convince me that the Kwan storyline is important, you should have told me from the very beginning who she is and why she's important. None of this, slow burn. 8 episodes in, we finally learned that, oh, by the way, Kwan is actually, whatever she's going to be. I think she's probably going to have like some relation to the Covenant without knowing it. Her father is going to be like a Covenant spy or something stupid like that.
Yeah. I think
there's
right.
no reason for it. It's a total waste of time. And when that reveal does come in, it's going to be so late that people like me are not going to care. And in fact, I think a lot of people who are watching the show already don't care.
I just don't know why her hair isn't growing. Like, is she getting a haircut like every other day? Like, I don't know. It's frustrating. So
anyway,
Pete, you made a threat. I mean, I think it's not just a promise. It's a threat. You said one more episode, then you're going to stop if it doesn't improve. That's right. Are you really committed to that? Am I going to have to do films and stuff solo? The Ethan only episode.
Well, first of all, I would never abandon you. But second of all, I think that it's something where I would say, films and stuff probably has better things to do with its time and other shows that we could be watching and reviewing.
Do we have better things to do with our time?
No, but we don't need to let everybody else know that.
I feel like what we're going to do, I mean, sincerely, what we're probably going to do is we're probably going to finish it off just because that's who we are. But I think we're not going to do an episode by episode breakdown. We'll probably do like 2 at a time. Yeah, we'll probably do 2 at a time and, stick with it. Because to be honest, there are, I mean, this show it's not the worst thing on television. I think the problem is that relative to the expectations and what it could be, it's pretty miserable. It's definitely not the worst thing on television. I mean, you can make it through an episode. It's just that you make it through the episode and it's like I didn't really get anything out of that. I don't feel happier. I don't feel more excited. I didn't really learn anything interesting. I didn't see anything like that I've never seen before. It took up 45 minutes of my life while I was waiting for something to happen, and that's it,
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Okay, so maybe we don't.
Yeah,
we don't do weekly recaps again. I will caveat that by saying, look, maybe they really upped their game in episode 5 because, we've had this show for 5 weeks. I'm not saying that they've recorded everything. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Maybe they can do some editing. But, if this goes on the way it's going on right now, it's hard to justify doing a weekly recap of a show where we end up effectively saying the same thing.
Yeah.
No action.
Don't watch it.
We're not moving forward.
We're driving our listeners away, yet we're still here.
And that's fine. In the sense that if you don't want the show to go that smoothly or you want it to be super procedural and super boring, hey man, all the power to you. You're the one spending $250 million on the show, not me.
I have to say that, I mean, for me, it's so important though. When you look at all the iconic shows, in the history of television, it's really important to start off strong and to get people like enthused about it. I understand people say, hey, we're just finding our footing and, mid-season, we really like shifted gears and that's okay. That's like you're a rookie in professional sports and you got to figure it out. And that's okay because you're on a contract and everyone's going to still watch you and congratulations. But for television, when there's so many things competing for time, like 5 bad episodes and then saying, hey, we figured it out in episode 6, it's kind of too late. People aren't going to come back. And you've done so much damage just in terms of killing the buzz that it's actually not okay to take 6 episodes. I know it's unfair. It's an unfair world, but that's just the reality, which is once people watch 2 episodes and they're not enthused, they're not coming back if it somehow miraculously got better after 6,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when you first introduced me to Foundation, and that was, a show that even if I remember correctly, it was this Foundation. It might have been something else where even you were a bit hesitant, but it was because of your brother's recommendation to give it a couple episodes and you'll be in, that you were in. Yeah, a couple episodes is one or two episodes.
Yeah.
5 weeks into a show is not a couple episodes. Yeah. That is, that's half the season. And if it's taking half the season today, that's a problem.
Let me tell you how that really played out. It was Expanse. My brother told me to give it 4 episodes, and it definitely took me probably 2 to get into it, and then I was hooked. But honestly, after that first one, if it wasn't my brother, I absolutely would not have watched the second one. For Foundation, actually, I didn't even get through the first episode. I turned it off and moved on. And it was my brother who's like, just finished the episode. And that's on me, right? But that's also because my time is valuable and I'm not going to sit around for 45 minutes if it hasn't showed me anything. And I'm not saying the first scene needs to be all, Game of Thrones. Let's have like a sword fighting orgy or whatever it is, that like captures you for the first episode. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying like, help me out. And you don't need the slowest scene at the beginning where you give me like all this admin background, like you can jump into some stuff and I'll figure it out later. Maybe that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I agree. I really wholeheartedly agree. It's the way I look at it is in the next couple of weeks, Better Call Saul is coming out, the final season. Yeah. The Boys is coming out. Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming out. Moon Knight already is out. Yeah. There's Winning Time is already out. There's so many shows that I'm actually happy and would rather be watching all the time. That, of course, we are forgiving as a rule. We may give a show 2 to 4 episodes, but your average viewer isn't. I don't think your average viewer is going to give it more than 1, maybe 2.
I agree.
So,
can I give you a hot take? Can I give you a hot take that I just thought of? And, you and I think that, George Lucas and Star Wars are the sun and the moon, and everything revolves around them, right? But if you think back to A New Hope, right? The first Star Wars, right? Episode 4, 1979. Remember that they had this, at the time, one of a kind, kind of like rolling credits at the beginning where they said, a long time ago, galaxy far, far away, right? Yeah. That's where they did the admin. And then if you remember the first scene, a ship passes kind of like overhead, right? And it's being shot at by a much bigger ship.
Yeah, and it's being fired at.
That's how you put your balls on the table and you start a franchise to get people excited, right? That's the movie where like, hey, if you miss the first 2 minutes because your girlfriend's late or your popcorn didn't come out fast enough, you missed something cool. That's how you start a series. Like, boom, this is going to be great, right? Think of Top Gun. Okay, we're going into cinema, not television, but the same thing, right? You've got a great scene at the beginning. Right away, you build up all this goodwill, fair or not fair. If it goes downhill after that, everyone's already gotten their money's worth. They're already excited. You've already earned the goodwill to carry you past some of the slower scenes, right? Yeah. And that's what Halo has missed. They tried to do it with this opening fight scene, which just came off as amateurish and not really that interesting. But had they made that just a wow scene, maybe it would have carried a couple episodes, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it didn't even carry that first episode.
No.
It's, it had a lot of baggage, and unfortunately they weren't able to, stick the landing.
You got to stick the landing. Well said. Okay, Pete, pleasure. I'm sorry that we are both disappointed by Halo. We'll try it again. We'll see if we can get that rating up. But right now, it's a skip by me and a skip by you. But
that's right.
Let's focus on better days ahead. Next episode, what do we have for our listeners?
The next episode, we're going to do a quick recap of Winning Time.
Winning Time, episode 6, Los Angeles Lakers. Please join us. You won't be disappointed. I think that's fair to say.
Yes, I agree.
All right, everybody. It's been real. I'm Pete. I'm Ethan. You're Pete.
I'm Pete. That's right.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.